This old iron pot is going to be our trick to finally mastering bread.
I'm in some pain.
It is bitingly cold out on the prairie today. We are about to fire up the wood-burning Cookstove. The first time I tried baking bread in this Cookstove, it was a failure. Long story short, the old beauty had some drafting issues. Now we've solved that problem, but that doesn't mean that bread is going to be easy. There's a reason pioneers baked biscuits and smaller things. Big loaves of bread are tricky. They need a constant, even, hot temperature over a long period of time. And we're talking an hour. And you know what's hard to do with the wood-fired heat on a freezing, windy Montana day? That. So today is either going to work or be another learning lesson. And to up the stakes a bit, we are attempting this with a house full of people. Hungry people. Cold people.
So we're out here at the cabin today, and my friend Katherine has come with her sisters to do some sewing.
And then the cattle are like a third spoke on that wheel.
Hey, Ben.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
We all walked in this morning to a house as cold on the inside as it is outside, which is well below freezing. But if we keep filling this Cookstove with wood, we might be able to take our jackets off in a few hours. The big windows are grabbing every scrap of sunlight available, and little by little, this old house is becoming cozy.
You know everything about like Montana and the local plants and stuff like that? You should put it and do like a homestead medicine.
I was thinking this. That oven's hot. I can feel it.
Yeah, it definitely heated up really fast.
In true frontier fashion, we aren't just doing one thing. Spending all day in the cabin means multitasking. Katherine is patching her children's clothes, her sisters are sewing stockings, making garland, and practicing embroidery, and I've got lots of candles to keep making. Last week I offered some to viewers, and the response has been really great. Anytime I get to make beeswax candles by the fire, especially with friends, well, I'm happy. So to those of you interested in ordering some candles or handmade wooden spoons, check out the description for this video and you'll find a link to our little store. A big thank you to those who have already purchased. Before we can get to baking, the stove and the house really need to fully warm up. And that is an hour straight off the bat. But once it's going, oh man, this is the coziest, most perfect place in the world if you ask me. Not quite warm enough to take our coats off yet, but perfect. I mean, an 1800 stick house on a windy day is always going to be drafty. Of course, when it comes to being chilled, there is a solution to that problem. Just before we made tea to warm our bones, Katherine did some magic with the sourdough to get it ready to go in the cast iron oven.
So I'm going to do two parts. One's going to be a round loaf. So the other one's going to go in this bread pan to be a circular loaf. And then I'm shaping the loaf, so I'm trying to get tension in the loaf here. So as I pull it back toward me, it causes the tension on the surface of the bread to increase, giving it that tight look, and that'll be what gives it the right shape and the density and the right type of air pockets and everything. There's that one. Right. Just want to, oh, but it's nice and sharp too. So I'm gonna just pour that.
Okay, now this is the method I tried when I first baked bread in this oven, and it didn't work. Through no fault of the bread itself, it's simply the fact that these old wood-burning ovens don't regulate temperature very well, so you end up with a golden, beautiful crust and a raw middle. Now I'm holding out hope that won't happen this time, but just in case, we're going to try the double cast iron pot method. It's a little trick up our sleeve to get the best bread possible.
And for this one, because it's not going to be oblong, it's going to be round, I'll keep pulling on both sides and tucking it in.
That's beautiful.
There we go. They say that different families would have different styles of scoring so that when they all took their bread to the bakers, that they would be able to tell them apart.
All right, let me check on our fire. All right, I'm gonna load that up a little more. And then the trick with this oven, I'll show you how we actually turn the oven on.
Okay.
I mean, it's on, but how we really turn the oven on.
That's gonna go in there, and then I'm gonna put some water in there to build the steam.
That's amazing.
In there.
All right.
Put it in.
How did you get into sourdough? I mean, what made you learn? You guys both can do it. I can't do it.
It was just because everybody in my family likes sourdough bread.
Yeah.
And then I looked into it, and there's a lot of health benefits to sourdough bread over normal bread.
Right.
Because it's more digestible and stuff.
Is that because of the fermentation?
Yes. The fermentation allows the nutrients to be more accessible, as well as being probiotic in and of themselves. There's a lot of benefits to your gut.
Yeah.
Well, kind of like lactose intolerant, like lactase.
Yeah.
Right? You can some people
But
who are
it's
lactose intolerant
interesting
could
that
taste the
they
lactase in it.
Some people use like ancient grains, people who are
Yeah.
really sensitive, and they say that like those older types of wheat don't cause any problems.
The einkorn.
Oh, hey, you guys, use your noses because you'll smell it if it's starting to burn.
Oh,
This oven is very dependent on the senses. Like, there's no technology to help us. They're saying in Britain, like, everybody was lactose intolerant until there was a genetic mutation, and some people developed this ability to drink milk later in life, and they were the only ones who made it through the lean times. And so there's like a 90% replacement, if they call that genetics, because of that. Like one person developed an immunity and their genetics outcompeted.
a potato famine or
Yeah. The starving time, the only thing you might have had would be milk products, milk and cheese.
For those of you who followed the story of renovating this house, you'll know that it's mysterious. A lot of the stories have been lost to time. Katherine asked me if there were other small homesteads and neighbors surrounding this one, back when this house had people living in it. And I'll be honest, there's a lot we still don't know. Montana's records from this time and place were all lost to water damage years ago. But we do know that just across the creek at the base of the mountains, you can still see a depression in the hillside. And that's where a female homesteader made a go of it on the land. Actually, there were 2 female homesteaders. The story is that they were 2 good friends, and each one homesteaded a chunk of land next to the other, and they built their shacks just a stone's throw apart. All that's left today are a few stones that mark the spot. There was another homestead visible from this spot back in 1889. This giant railroad grade you see now wasn't there, and it didn't appear until just before World War I, when the railroads were competing to crisscross this nation. So from this kitchen window back in the day, you would have been able to see another homestead family just up the valley. The log barn from the Gilkerson place still stands today. And it's on our list to rescue before it is lost to time, just like so many of the other places. The man who built this cabin all those years ago married into the Jackson family, and his homestead, along with all these other homesteads, merged into one family ranch, and we are still holding on to it today. But back down to earth and day-to-day things, we have beeswax melting on the stove right now, and it's just about ready to be poured into the molds. Normally, I like to use tin molds, which are a traditional type of mold, but we got some of these modern silicone ones and I thought I'd give them a try. I'm sure you can hear it in my voice. We've all had colds for a week. My voice is shot. Sometimes you just want to do it the easy way, especially when there's lots going on and you're trying to multitask.
Mommy, all these right feet?
Those are the right feet. No, they're not the right feet.
But that's okay.
That's okay.
You got him!
We got him.
But having that smell of melted beeswax in the cabin was the most aromatic, wonderful smell. And then on top of that, we were starting to smell that beautiful aroma of fresh bread being done. Now, as predicted, the little loaf that was in its own separate bread tin, it struggled. It looked gorgeous on the top. We pulled it out, we checked it, and it wasn't cooked all the way through. So we flipped it, and we flipped it again. It turned out all right. But the real magic and the real test of today was to use our cast iron pot to bake a large round loaf. That's going to be the real measure of the day.
We could.
Ooh, good idea.
Yeah, we could do that. Oven's hot. I can feel it.
Yeah.
Katherine and Mary Grace put so much time and knowledge into this dough, it'd be a shame if we couldn't get this oven to work its magic. Because the truth is, these old cast iron ovens bake the best bread. If you can get them to work right, if you can know your tool, you will never beat a loaf of bread baked in an oven like this.
That looks so good though. Isn't that gorgeous? Yeah, that looks
Whatever it looks like on the inside.
Beautiful. A wood-burning cook stove can take food to a whole nother level. And bread is probably the number one type of thing that it's really possible to elevate.
Oh my goodness, that's incredible. It's just so beautiful.
Mary Grace can walk you through a good sourdough
Yeah,
loaf.
what makes a
Mary
good
Grace
sourdough
is
loaf?
the best at this.
All right, so you got wide shoulders, not pointy like a mountain. You want it like a nice even hill, even crumb throughout, so there's no really large holes. There's no gap between the crust and the dough in the middle. Excellent scoring. A little scald, perfect.
You are supposed to wait about an hour after baking your bread to cut it, but that's really lame. Now we have our frozen butter since it's been in the windowsill.
Now, because I'm a novice and I didn't actually make this dough, I can say this. This bread was spectacular. I have never had anything quite like it. The combination of a really good sourdough and then the heat and the steam of this big cast iron oven and a cast iron oven within another oven, it really did something totally unique. When we cut into the loaf, you can see the bubbles and air pockets within it. The crust had that thin, crisp layer and then the chewy interior. I can't say enough for how amazing this was. And I think everybody else agrees. We were all pretty excited about it. Friends went home and the day went on, but as the sun started to drop behind the mountains, we had a cast iron situation to solve.
I couldn't find my proper hammer, so we're using the kid's toy hammer, but it gets the job done. So I thought while the kids are here and the cabin's warm, we have just a few more tools to hang up here on the walls.
It's dark by 4:30 at this time of year, but before the sun set, we had a bit more hot cocoa to drink and some nails to put in the walls, and then the very last of the cast iron skillets to hang up. I thought all of my cast iron skillets had been lost. Robbie found a box of buried cast iron that I was sure we would never see again between moving houses and changes in life. But all these old beauties reappeared, a little spiffing up, and they're better than anything new I could ever buy. A winter snow is on its way, just before Thanksgiving, of course. So this afternoon gives us a chance to snuggle up and read a book that's spot on for the season. Mama, fetch the cooking pot. Fetch our turkey cooking pot. Big, old, and black and squat. Mama, fetch the pot. Daddy, make the fire hot. Tend it so it's blazing hot. Ready for the cooking pot. Daddy, make it hot. Sister, knead the rising dough. Punch it down and watch it grow. Line your loaves up in a row. Sister, knead the dough. Fetch, heat, knead the bread. Work together till we're fed. Grandpa, cook the berries, please. Boil those bright red berries, please. Add some lemon just a squeeze. Grandpa, cook them, please. Baste, boil, bake a treat. When can we sit down to eat?
Come and get our dinners out.
Family, find your dining place. Choose a chair and fill your space. Bow your heads and ask for grace. Family, find your place. We will share the risen bread, our made with love Thanksgiving spread. Grateful to be warm and fed, we will share the bread.
We get to snow on the flakes too.
They got everything, look at that. My mother-in-law got an elk this week while out hunting solo. So the next episode, we just might have a real hunter's meal to cook out in this 1889 cabin. We'll just have to see what this snowstorm does.